3 days before I was going to propose to my girlfriend of 2 years, she looked me dead in the eye and told me I was banned from her family's Christmas dinner. No warning, no previous arguments, just a cold, casual declaration that shattered everything I thought we were building. I was 31, living a quiet, highly calculated life as a data analyst in Austin. My entire existence ran on predictable patterns, routines, and spreadsheets. But human behavior is far harder to calculate. Marisa was 29. We had been together for over 2 years, and the natural next step was already set in stone in my mind. In fact, the engagement ring was already sitting in a local jewelry shop, half paid. I was planning to ask her to marry me on New Year's Eve. Marisa had a highly polished social exterior. She was the kind of person who could drop a devastating, cruel comment with a warm smile, leaving you feeling like the dramatic one for even reacting. I used to write it off. I told myself it was just stress, or sarcasm, or her simply being direct. But looking back, her directness was a one-way street. Wait, think about how she treated those around her. Waiters, retail workers, her younger cousins, even my own brother. Anyone she perceived as having less social status felt the sharp edge of her tongue. And with me, she kept me perpetually off balance. If I planned a date with confidence, I was being controlling. If I asked for her input, I lacked initiative. If I bought her a thoughtful gift, I was trying too hard. If I kept things simple, I was emotionally lazy. It was a psychological maze where every path led to me defending motives I never actually had. Yet, on paper, it worked. We wanted the same future, ran in the same circles, and she constantly claimed she wanted a calm, stable life. So, I prepared for my first Christmas with her family. I wanted to make a statement of intent. Her father loved rare jazz records, and her mother collected hand-painted ornaments from local artists. I tracked down both without asking Marisa for help. Those gifts were wrapped and sitting in the trunk of my car. Then, the atmosphere shifted. Whenever I brought up the logistics of the holiday, she froze. She became evasive, vague, and defensive. Suddenly, she was taking phone calls in the hallway, closing doors behind her. Then came that Tuesday night. We were eating takeout on her living room couch when she dropped a sentence that changed everything. She told me I should make other plans for Christmas. I assumed her parents had changed their travel schedule. I asked what she meant, and then she said it. She couldn't bring me to Christmas dinner because her ex-boyfriend was attending and she didn't want to make things awkward. Read that again. Not awkward for her family. Not awkward for her. She wanted to protect the comfort of the man she broke up with 2 years ago, over the man she was currently planning to marry. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. It never came. She told me I was being insecure and overreacting. She suggested I just spend the holiday with my own family and promised next year will be different. In that exact second, the illusion shattered. The math was suddenly very simple. The ring, the gifts in my trunk, the 2 years of compromise, none of it outranked her ex-boyfriend's comfort. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I simply stood up and told her the relationship was over. She actually laughed. She thought it was a bluff, a dramatic performance she could easily win. But I was already gathering my life. My laptop charger from the kitchen, my gym bag from the closet, my shirts. 5 minutes. That is all it took to pack up 2 years of history. As I grabbed the wrapped gifts for her parents from the entryway, she finally looked confused. She asked what I was doing. I told her these gifts were never meant for the family of someone who ranks me second. But I didn't drive home. Instead, I drove straight to her parents' house. If they knew her ex well enough to invite him, they deserved to know why their daughter's boyfriend of 2 years had suddenly vanished 3 days before Christmas. Her father opened the door, surprised but warm. Her mother was in the kitchen. They had no idea. We sat at the kitchen table and I laid out the truth calmly, without emotion. I told them exactly what Marisa had said. The silence in that room was heavy. Her father rubbed his forehead. Her mother looked completely stunned. I slid the wrapped gifts across the table. I told them they were bought for them, and they shouldn't suffer for their daughter's choices. Then, the real truth came out. Her father explained that the ex hadn't been coming around because things had gotten awkward since I joined the family. I asked the logical question. Did Marissa ask you to invite him? They looked at each other. The answer was yes. Marissa had called weeks ago, begging them to invite her ex, because she felt bad he would be alone. She didn't inherit an awkward situation. She engineered it. And her solution was to erase me from the picture. I stood up to leave just as her mother's phone began to buzz on the counter. It was Marissa. I didn't stay to hear her lie. I went home, locked her number, and blocked her social media. The next morning, I walked into the jewelry store and canceled the ring. Walking out, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. 2 months of perfect silence passed. I reconnected with friends, worked on my data projects, and breathed. Then, spring arrived, and so did Claire. Claire was a physical therapist. She was kind, calm, and incredibly straightforward. With Claire, there were no tests, no hidden hierarchies, no emotional games. But a mutual acquaintance saw a picture of us hiking and sent it to Marissa. What followed was a public, digital meltdown. Marissa began posting long, unhinged rants on Instagram, calling me emotionally weak and claiming I had abandoned her right before Christmas. She wanted public sympathy, but she made one fatal error. In the comments, someone asked why she had previously said her ex was attending the holiday. Marissa replied, saying her ex deserved comfort because he had been around longer. The internet did the math. A 2-year relationship wasn't new. Within minutes, her own followers turned on her, pointing out the glaring contradictions in her victim narrative. The post was deleted. Her account went private. 2 weeks later, she cornered me in my office parking lot after dark. She didn't look angry anymore. She looked desperate. She accused me of letting everyone believe she chose her ex over me. I looked at her and said, "But you did." She tried to argue, calling it a complex family dynamic. I didn't stay to debate. I got in my car and drove away. Some people will spend their entire lives trying to rearrange the truth to fit their narrative. But the math of respect is simple. If you have to fight for a seat at the table, you are already sitting in the wrong room.